Okay, good afternoon, all. And for the HIGMID session today, we have someone who I admire a lot. I heard about him in the year perhaps 2013 from some very learned people who I met maybe 2012 or 13, about that time. And that was a time when I got a news that in one of the entrepreneurship competitions, there's a person or there's a venture called Travelkhana which has won, right? And I had also participated in that competition, and we were nowhere in the top maybe 50 or so. And that venture which won, it was started by Pushpinder Singh, who's here, the guest today at the HIGMID talk. And I have my colleague Siddharth Samuel, who is also there, and both of them will be in conversation with us. But before that, I want to talk about Pushpinder. Uh, Travelkhana as an idea was an idea which I really thought that it is an awesome idea. The reason being that I worked for Indian Railways, and when something of Travelkhana sort of idea which came, it really resonated deep within. So that was it. And he's done multiple startups. He's worked in technology ventures. He is also an avid long distance runner. So all those things which go in the making of what we call resilience. And that is what Pushpinder is here. He's going to talk at the HIGMID talk about how I got my idea. But all participants, you are encouraged to ask your question, because there's a lot of interesting thing that Pushpinder has to share. So I'm going to unmute Siddharth Samuel, who will Siddharth, can you unmute? Just give me a second. Siddharth Samuel. Please unmute Siddharth.
Yes.
Very good. And Pushpinder, I am also unmuting you. Right. So over to Siddharth and Pushpinder.
Sure. All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and all the boys and girls. Welcome to an exciting another session of HIGMID. And HIGMID, for those of you who don't know, HIGMID stands for How I Got My Idea. Okay. So being an entrepreneur, being someone who is innovative, being someone who likes to tinker with different ideas to make the world a better place, we all get our ideas through some or the other means, right? It might be an inspiration, it might be some problem that we faced ourselves, right? So I think we all have an inspiration. And in today's session, we have someone really exciting. As Mr. Sanjeev, he mentioned that we have the CEO and the founder of Travelkhana. And I request to all the students to please, if you want to ask something, please drop your questions on the chat box, so that once the time comes, once the Q&A kind of round comes, and then means I can we can pick up the questions from the chat box, and then we can give you the chance to answer that. Okay, so I want you all to just pay attention, and let's have an exciting round of next half an hour. Okay, all right. So good evening, sir.
Good evening, Siddhartha. You needn't call me sir. You can call me Pushpinder.
Okay, absolutely, absolutely. So I think before we start, I would like to ask you to just to just sort of so we have our school students here. So I'll just brief you about the target audience that we have here. So we have so means most of the people here are school students from class 6 to class 12. Right. So I think let us, we all come from an entrepreneurial background, and you have had pretty much experience and success in this domain. So, let's just, make the words and language very simple for them to understand, and also inspire them to follow on our footsteps. Right. Okay. So my first thing which I'm going to ask you is, how did you get the inspiration of this idea, Travelkhana?
So Siddharth, actually, as Sanjeev said, that I've been in the technology industry, So I used to make, so for the simplicity, I used to make softwares which would actually work quite a lot behind the scenes. So for example, I headed a product called Quark Express. Now, Quark Express, across the world, if you are reading a New York Times, to a school textbook, to a Dainik Jagran, to a Hindustan Times, there is one software which actually so if you actually look at a newspaper, there is a lot of designing and layouting within this. So if you really look, there is some news item that actually continues on the seventh page. All of that as a part of the design of an overall newspaper. Now, for a newspaper, this work starts at about 6 p.m. in the evening, and at 5 p.m. in the morning, the newspaper is supposed to be in the hands of the people who are going to read it.
Wow.
And there are large newspapers like New York Times, which actually have 100 pages in them. Indian newspapers, and after COVID, most newspapers have become very thin, but otherwise, most Indian newspapers also have some 40, 45, 50 pages. Now, there is a lot of work. So, there is a product which actually designs this. So, I'm just giving you an example. So, that entire thing happens on a product called Quark Express. Across the world, 90% of the work actually happens on Quark Express. Now there is a new product, but basically two products do this all the time.
Right.
So, but most people don't know that there is something like Quark Express that exists, and that is the product behind a lot of the stuff that gets into our hands. Similarly, you are actually using a mobile phone. There are only two companies across the world which actually make the glass for the screen. Now, again, most of us don't know that there are only two companies across the world which actually do this. So I've been in so lot. That's the plight of people who are in the software and technology industry. That some of them are doing some really good work which goes into a lot of useful products, but most of the time people don't know what we guys are doing.
Right.
And in a country like India, there are so many problems to be solved which technology can solve, and that is not being solved. So I thought in 2013 that there are so many people who travel in Indian trains. Now, most people will not know, but more than the world's population travels in the Indian trains in 1 year. And more than, so we actually transport the entire population of New Zealand and Australia in 1 day in the Indian railway system.
Wow.
Now, a significant chunk of these are people who travel long distance, like from Delhi to Bombay and Delhi to Lucknow and Calcutta to Chennai, and so the food quality is very poor. It is getting better, but it's very, very poor, and there is a lot of bad press that the food gets. So I've been a traveler myself. I studied in Varanasi, IIT, BHU, and I've worked in Tata Steel in Jamshedpur. So I've traveled quite extensively within India as well as across the world. And I really saw that while on the airports you can actually get quite a lot of things, but in trains you cannot. And how can it be that technology can solve this problem? So I thought that the train passes through the cities. Cities have good restaurants. So how about the train passenger can actually order food, and the restaurant can come and deliver it when the train comes and arrives at a station.
Wow.
And the role the technology plays is that the system keeps checking where the train is all the time, and gets the restaurant person to synchronize their arrival and give the food. That is how we developed this. So we actually did a small pilot. We have a I have a process of doing it at a small level first. The pilot got very good response, so we launched it big time. That is how I got my idea.
Wow. I think that was quite an inspiration. And I believe, I think you would agree with me that, I think based on your experiences, your travel experiences, and means also, like why just the airports when railway stations and are, the most of the population in India travel by train rather than on through the airplane. So I think it's a really amazing idea, and I believe all the students here, would Google what is Travelkhana and would research and get to know more about it. I would really, really request all the students to please do that. And the next time you travel on a train, use this app. Okay. All right. So, sir, one more thing I would like to ask, and I believe, so let's talk in context of, first time entrepreneurship, right? So most of us, even I'm an entrepreneur, and most of the students here, they are going to be the future entrepreneurs of Miss India, right? And the major challenge here is that, sometimes, usually in our society, it is, yes, said that, well, right now it's improving a lot, but then usually it is said that, entrepreneurship is a very daunting kind of a task. There is no guarantee of success, right? And there's no stability, right? There's no job stability. So, a usual family household says that, why don't get a government job or go to IIMs, get a job, you will get married fast and you will have a stable life, right? So that is what is said. But then, what would be your piece of advice, and what would be your comment to all the students and the participants, and also the people who are watching it live on Me's YouTube, that, why should one go and pursue entrepreneurship? What are the key points which they need to really, really know beforehand, uh, when they decide to get into entrepreneurship, right? Because it has been glorified a lot on the online kind of media that entrepreneurship is very glorious, but it comes with a cost, right? So, sir, it's totally over to you. So your address is directly to the school students here.
So I basically don't have much to say. They already know. They are so today's school students are very mature. I'm much more mature than what we were at our time, and also the fact that there is a lot more information available now, and there is a lot more openness towards being an entrepreneur. So I think if you want to be an entrepreneur, so why you want to be an entrepreneur is something is very personal. Like for example, I was a basketball player or I was a soccer player in my younger days, and now I do running. Now that is very personal. That because I like it and I want to indulge in it, and when I'm running, I want to make my timings better. And again, when I'm playing football, so I want to be like playing better and like that, right? So that is actually a very personal choice. And more than the results, the journey actually counts quite a lot. So there is a lot of excitement in really getting the product to the market and then getting feedback from customers and then doing all the stuff which is actually required for the product. But of course, there are pluses and minus with as compared to a regular in fixed income job. Obviously, as an entrepreneur, you will need to really be responsible for the fact that many times you will not really be able to get that, or will not be consistent with the kind of things that a job would give you. And that's a risk. And taking a risk is a very personal thing for people. See, a lot of us actually take risk to go and climb Mount Everest, which is an extremely dangerous thing to do. I do trekking myself. This is dangerous in a certain level, but we do it because we want to do it. But yes, if the entrepreneurship actually turns around and if there is something, if the results start coming in, obviously the financial benefits are far greater to what a job will get you. So basically, it's a risk and reward. The more the risk, the reward will be higher. And all the students will need to really remember that if they are going to take a risk, then the reward will be higher, but then the penalty will also be higher if the thing doesn't work out. So it's like that. So that is what they need to really take care of the fact. And um, most of the time, everyone will not agree to what you are really setting out to do. So you cannot really like wanting to get everyone's approval is something that students should really know that it is not going to be possible. Many times, close people to you will also not agree to what you do. It doesn't mean that they don't like you, they don't love you, they don't want to support you. The fact is that they are scared, and many times they're scared for you. That's why they are not going to be supporting. So that is what students need to be really aware of.
I think that's a really golden piece of advice. Like we can't make everyone happy, right? And in fact, the CEO of Mark Zuckerberg also said that you can't reach to a billion kind of people without making a few people who disagree with you or making a few enemies as such, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. And then see, the people who are close to you, they will always be besides you.
exactly.
Whether they like what you're doing or they don't like, they will be besides you.
Right. I think yeah, that's a really golden piece of advice. So students make a note of it, that you can't make everyone happy, but if you really want to do it, then you have to commit to the idea and then go for it, right? And one of a good inspiration is Mr. Pushpinder here, who is the CEO of Travelkhana. For those who joined late, Travelkhana is a food booking app. So mostly if you travel on trains, on through the network of Indian Railways, then Travelkhana is one of the next big thing which is happening. So I would urge you all to Google it, because I won't be going into details here. But yes, Travelkhana is, you will get a lot of articles. You'll get to know what is it, and please download the app. Okay, right. So, sir, so we have got the last 10 minutes left. So for next 5 minutes, I'm going to ask you one or two important things, and then we'll means address the questions from the students. So I would urge all the students here to please think of the questions which you want to ask, sir, and drop it in the chat box. Okay, so that I can see the chat, and I can take the questions from there, and I can then let you ask sir directly. Okay, all right. So, sir, since you started Travelkhana, right? So we all are aware that that the product which you launch, or which you launch at a beta stage on day one, it is not the same after 2-3 years down the line, right? So it goes through a process of the evolution. You do some market feedback. Based on the feedback, you fine tune it, you refine it. So can you just run us through the journey of Travelkhana right from day one to what Travelkhana is at the present date and time?
So for the first day, like when if I really look at the product, we had to make 4 trips to Jaipur and convince the first restaurant to come on board. Okay, and we just thought of an idea, and we so that time calling was more popular. So I just went and took a SIM card from the market, and that's how I set it up. And then there was no website there. We had set up a small booking system, which was more internal. So people can call and then the booking can be done. So we didn't have a website. So what we did is we actually got a leaflet printed and then we scanned it and we put it on the website.
Wow.
That was the first version of our website.
Okay, nice.
All right. So from there to now, we have 9 servers or 10 servers which are actually supporting the entire platform. There is a app which has gone to 5 million people. There is 5 million people who come on the on different web properties, and There is so from there to now, you can actually see what is the kind of difference that has happened from having a scanned copy photo of a leaflet to
Right.
where we are right now.
Exactly. I think a key lesson which
And the room was actually, the first room was hardly 8 feet by 5 feet.
wow, humble starts.
So that's how you start. And four chairs, and that's how we start.
Wow. So students here, so don't you should have a dream of having fancy offices, but then don't be ashamed of starting right from your basement or from your own room at home, right? Because what matters is the idea, your execution, and your dedication, right? The results and the rewards come in the form of swanky offices and 100 and 1000 plus employees, which will come over time, right? So I think that is one of the key lessons. And I think one more key lesson which sir has mentioned is that always adapt with time. So as he mentioned, there was no internet, right? And most people didn't have the cell phones or the smartphones with the internet. So it makes sense to just give a call, right? So it was a calling kind of a system when it started, but right now it is an app because we all have the internet in our smartphones, right? So means adaptation is a really key thing which he mentions here, right? And sir would agree to it. So one last kind of a question to you, sir. Right, did you always wanted to become an entrepreneur, like, or did it happen just by accident, just by doing things as your passion, and one day you realized that, okay, I'm an entrepreneur now?
No, I did want to. For in my case, I did want to become an entrepreneur.
Okay.
So ever since I actually graduated from engineering, I wanted to do something of my own at some stage. The only thing that I can, when I look back, I can say that I should have done it maybe earlier than at the time that I did it.
Right. Okay. uh, yes. Thank you. So right now, sir, what we'll do is so we have the questions which the students are already dropping in. So I'll just give this chance to a couple of students. We'll just address three of the top things which they want to ask, and you have your time to me respond, and then we'll wrap up the session on a closing note. So we have two questions here. One from Shishti. So I've requested you to please unmute yourself.
Good
Uh,
evening.
yeah, go ahead. Please
Good
ask.
evening, everyone. Sir, my question to you is, sir, what do you wish you could have done in a different way?
Um, so I actually, we are now, this Travelkhana platform is very closely tied with railways. So I think one of the things that we could have done in a different way was to actually have food for regular restaurants within the city also to be ordered by people. So this was a time then we had that opportunity, and that's the time that we and Zomato and Swiggy, etc., we came on the say at the same time approximately. But now they are much larger. So I think that we should have been more open to doing it within cities as
Thank you. I think yeah, that really makes sense. But I think Travel Khana is doing really well. Okay, so sir, we have one more kind of question here, and we'll take two more, and then we are running out of time, so we'll wrap the session up. So I think we have one more from Shreya Nayak. So I'm just going to unmute you, Shreya. Just give me a second. Yeah.
By the way, where are the
Thank you
students
so much,
from? Are
sir.
there students from within Delhi, NCR, or they're from across India?
So they are mostly from his NCR capital, but there are students from different parts of India, especially the tier 2 towns, Jharkhand, and different states as well. Right. Okay, Shreya, you can go ahead.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So my question was regarding rural India, sir, because a larger part of rural India travels by trains than the urban parts of the country. So, sir, how is your app reaching remote places in the country where people are really not aware about all of these things?
So Shreya, the rural India is, so maybe I think that is what we consider to be rural in cities like Delhi and Bombay and those places is not actually rural. They're typically in tier 3 and tier 4 towns. So, for example, Delhi and Bombay is tier 1 town. Um, a city like Bhopal will be tier 2 town. Bhopal, Jaipur, those kind, Chandigarh, these are tier 2 towns. And then tier 3 and tier 4 towns. So most India in tier 1, 2, 3, 4 travels in trains. But very little rural population travels in trains. So there is a large rural population which travels in trains, but they travel mostly very local. They would actually go 100 kilometers, 50 kilometers in passenger trains. So just to give you a sense of it, there are about 12,000 trains which are running in the Indian railway system every day. Now, within this 12,000, only 3.5, 4,000 are actually longer distance trains. They typically don't make a stop at really small places. And the others are passengers or suburban trains. Like, for example, if you're traveling from Delhi to a place called Rewari, there will be a suburban passenger train. Rewari is 1.5 hours away. So those are yet not our typical target market. So that's where it, and they don't even have a reserved seat. Most of the trains of that category are not reserved for people. So that's the thing. So our target is people who are actually from tier 1, 2, 3, and 4 towns, and they have access now. They are actually pretty much having access to internet and smartphones and everything. Does that answer your question?
Thank you, Shreya. Thank you. We will just ask you, we'll just take one more and we'll just end on a closing note with, okay, students. So I'll just take one more from Ashutosh. So Ashutosh, I'm just unmuting you. You can go ahead and ask, sir, your question.
Good evening, sir. So I wanted to ask, is there any specific degree or course one should pursue if he wants to, he or she wants to become an entrepreneur?
I can't say that, Ashutosh, but I think you should, like, for example, I'm an engineer. I did not know much of finance and I did not know much of like corporate governance and stuff like that. I knew technology. I was a technologist. So that is where it is. So I basically had to learn that. So those are things that you learn across the time. And then there are some times you actually have those courses online or available on a physical one-to-one basis. You can also go and attend them. I think Sanjeeva and Siddharth are better people to answer that question.
Yes. Thank you, sir. So means Ashutosh, think startup also has lots of lots of the workshops and the sessions that we do for you to become a better entrepreneur. So you can reach out to us anytime, and this applies to means all of you going down the line in future. Okay, so I think we are running out of time, so we'll wrap this up here. But I think I would like you to just say us that how do you see Travelkhana 5 years from now? Like, what is your ambition with Travelkhana? How do you foresee the journey going forward?
So Travelkhana is actually right now also working on a SaaS-based platform. Right. Software as a service-based platform. So you will actually see and hear quite a lot of that in the next short term.
Okay, great. And that's interesting. And yes, what is your, and how do you would you be open to
And
hiring all
then
these?
there is a lot of privatization happening in the Indian railway system as well. And a lot of travels are now shifting onto the airlines as well. And we are getting a lot of orders from airlines, from people who are traveling on the air. So you will see Travelkhana on the air routes as well.
Right, right. I think we missed one of the crucial kind of a question which I would like to, which I would like you to answer. One of the major issues what people usually have while traveling in trains is the quality of food, right? Because sometimes, even in my experience back in the days when the airfare was like
That is one of the integral part of what we do. So we actually do a lot of quality. The word that we use is curating. So we actually take the restaurant, we curate, we see whether the quality is good, the feedback is good, the restaurant is having any commitment, who is the owner, do they really have a license, etc., to operate proper, is their clean kitchen clean, etc. So we actually do quite a lot of work on that.
Right. I think that really makes sense because hygiene is important, and Travelkhana is one of the platforms for all of you students. Next time you travel on a train, or when or means on whichever platforms they means expand to whichever travel modes, please don't forget to download the app, use the platform, and enjoy the delicious meal. Okay, and when you guys graduate from school and when you are looking for a job, keep Travelkhana as one of your top priorities as the companies to work in, right? Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for taking out your precious time to me address the young minds here. And I think they really must have taken really great inspiration from you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's always the guy I go and speak many places, but the most that I enjoy is speaking with students and people who are actually at this age that I am speaking to right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think at this age, if we instill the DNA of entrepreneurship in their minds, I think our future of our army's country is in good hands and capable hands. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Means all of you students for taking out the time and coming in this really exciting, productive, and informative kind of session. Will be inviting sir in lot of other sessions in the future as well. And remember, Travelkhana, download the app. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you
You're
all of
welcome,
us.
Siddharth, and thank you, Sanjeeva, for giving me this opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm wrapping this call now. Have a good day and see you guys in the next kind of session. Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye.
you.